right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and we're back talking more Y the Last Man this very early Monday morning. It isn't even 7 o'clock in the morning here, and we're talking about Season 1, Episode 6, Perish the Thought, but Weird Al is dead. So, that's a sad thought, but it's going to happen someday. Prepare for it. So if you're liking what we're doing here on the channel, make sure you're hitting that like button if you can. Make sure you're subscribing if you're not a subscriber. We realize that most people that come on, they see this, they click, they look, they take one look at your video and they go, I don't like how this is lit. I don't like that it's not bright and shiny, and they just click away without hearing anything that you have to say. It's still, you know, it's still style over substance, you know. So I realize that, but if you do happen to like what I'm saying, hey, hit that subscribe button if you could. It helps with my motivation. And for all of you returning subscribers, welcome back. How you doing? So let's jump in here. But first I want to talk about just, some of the issues that people have. I read all the comments. I try to comment, respond to everybody in some fashion. And we're going to try to touch up on some of those concerns, but also I want to bring up that I think it's funny that FX and Hulu are, Disney's subsidiaries. They're owned by Disney, and Disney owns Marvel, and they've purchased, with the purchase of Y the Last Man, which is a DC Vertigo book. I'm not saying they're making some quiet takeover. I just think it's funny that Warner Brothers didn't make this. This should be on HBO Max. This should be on HBO Max, everybody. How the hell did FX win the bidding war, like win the rights to make this? They make Doom Patrol over on HBO Max. And that show's out there and swears and is a very mature content for as silly as it is. How did they let this happen? How did they not want this? Maybe they didn't, I'd really like to know that story. Because it is funny that Marvel owns a DC Vertigo show. Anyway, or a book that's DC Vertigo. Anyway, I know they don't own, somebody's going to hear this and think, they're talking about a DC, he owns DC, no. Yeah, don't make up narratives that aren't there. So as far as the issues go, right, because I know that some people are frustrated with the characters of Hero and Yorick. And again, since the majority of you probably aren't comic book readers, here's the gist. If you don't like these characters, that's fine. This is how they are in the books. We're seeing a lot more, though, of Hero. Hero, we don't get to see this, like, build up. In fact, we don't get to see the build up to what this group is. In the book, we just are introduced to them, and then we get exposition and what they stand for. We don't see this group become this group. Like, we don't see the beginnings of it all. But here, so in the book, you're introduced to Hero, and she's just a certain way after the events of what happens. And I kind of enjoyed that, but I enjoy this more as we do get to fill in those gaps. And Hero was a very, like, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, she was pretty self-destructive, and she ended up going down this path to these ladies to find, become who she becomes. After what happens when we talk about how she was having an affair with a married guy, and then he rejected her, and then she accidentally kills him. And now it's feeling all that guilt from murdering someone. Not a man, and it wasn't intentional, right? But she still killed him nonetheless, and this guilt that she feels over it. And how all the things that she's been and up till now in her life has led her to here. And I like this, but she is this type of character. If you find her insufferable, she's got quite a chip on her shoulder, and even in the books. Now, as far as Yorick goes, I said right up front, Yorick is pretty naive and kind of a dumbass at times. He's rash, does not think things through. And I know a lot of people that are exactly like this, myself included. I can be very rash. I can make decisions and then go, oh boy, I wish there was a thing called takebacks because, and I think we all experienced that. Um, but he is this character in the books. So I mean, if you're not into it, get ready because I find him pretty realistic, um, but just slightly exaggerated because most male characters they portray them like I don't know. He reminds me more of like the guy from the character Invincible on that show where it's just like he doesn't really know what he's doing, and this guy doesn't either. As far though as one of the other issues is that I read was about not having like running out of things so quickly and how it's only been a month. It's been more than a month. It's been a lot longer than a month. It hasn't been no years or nothing, but time has gone on. And if you do recall, we are still in a pandemic and working where I work in grocery retail. And we ran out of things and we didn't lose an entire gender. Okay. We just lost workers that couldn't work anymore, factories shutting down. We still have empty shelves that we can't get things, and we're working. People are constantly working to try to keep up with the stocking and how much we have. Now imagine all those people are just gone, not sick. Shit's gonna slow down. It's gonna slow down fast. You've got drivers, you've got people to make it. If it's fruits and vegetables, you got people out in the fields, you got farmers growing the stuff, all the different aspects of things. And when this happened, everything went into panic mode. What do you do? And it's just to me, it's very understandable that one of the things that isn't being done very well, and there's a lot of things not being done very well right now in this show, is the new production of food. And as you can see in the Washington stories, they're trying to get things back up and running one thing at a time. All right, so that's a good segue into one of the things that's going on in this show. What are they doing in Washington? You know, and what they're really focusing on right now. And, you know, because of how things are in this country, we are more divided than we've been since shit. Since at least the 60s, since the Civil War, since civil rights movements. Yeah, and I'm going all the way back to the Civil War. I can't imagine what it felt like to be back then watching the country fall apart. But I feel like I'm seeing it now. And this show is making very close connections to our world, even after the fact that all the men are dead. And that just because all the men are dead doesn't mean that the divisions aren't there. And they're focusing heavily on power and politics and the politics of the right and the politics of the left and who's right, who's wrong. And they're definitely painting the right side as the way that we see it now. And if you're on the right side, you're not going to see it like this. That, a lot of it is racist xenophobia and more and worse. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I am just a person, and I follow my heart, not my politics. I don't choose. I don't pick a political side. I pick the side of what I think is right, and even though right now I'm thinking very left, but it is a concern that the show is leaned too hard into the politics angle in the Washington part, because it should be about getting the country started, not about fighting about who's going to make the decisions, uh, I mean, that should be a part of it. But if we have these concerns about making things run well again, I don't know, because I can see where this is all headed. Okay, because we know Jennifer is hiding the fact that her son is alive, right? And we know that what that's going to cause. And since that causes drama, we know that eventually that drama is going to come out. And I'm pretty sure that Jennifer's going to end up losing power. That's going to come out. A bunch of people are going to change sides just because she hid it, even though they won't understand why she's hiding it. It's just very, very convenient that for the plot, even in the book, that the person who's in charge is the one who has the son that's alive. Now, there's more to that story still that we will get to down the line, but I see this whole section just becoming about she loses power. Power ends up in the hands of people that you don't want to have power. She's already talking about sending out riot police to attack the people at the wall because it shows weakness. Because it's she's saying like she's got this idea of, and we're talking about Regina Oliver, right? And her and Kim, right? That they're not acknowledging what we lost. And they're, so they're deep in their sadness, right? And they think that if you don't talk about your grief, if you're not out there crying for all the men that died instead of, yeah, we know they died, we have to do something about it. We have to still carry on. They want to use that against them, but also try to still be like, you know, um, emotional about it, but not emotional, if you know what I'm saying. Like they want to say, oh, we lost all these men, but we have to go fight a bunch of women that are grieving. It's very delicate stuff, and I don't have all the answers. I don't even pretend to have all the answers. Even talking about this is very uncomfortable for me because you're going to piss somebody off. And I'm honest on this channel, and so I have to be prepared to piss some people off. Just not intentionally. Yeah, maybe a little. But I do wish that they'd focus a little bit more on what actually needs to be done more than proving one political side is wrong, because if you need to be told that racism and xenophobia and sexism and fascism is wrong, I'm not going to be the one to turn you around on that. You're not going to listen to this anyway. You've already heard enough probably 3 minutes ago and went, fuck this guy. The people that actually need to learn these things they're going to click off because they won't be told anything. There's one thing you should all know right now, if you haven't figured this out, the people that are wrong right now will never admit that they're wrong. They are so far gone that it's like screaming at the wall. You know what I mean? Screaming into the emptiness of the void, the abyss. Because we make all this content that's supposed to like, what is it supposed to do? Is it supposed to make us feel more right? Or them feel more wrong? But the people who are supposed to feel wrong, that they want to feel wrong, will not watch this. They don't click on this. They go to Fox News. They go to these made up television stations, these news channels, these just that pop up like a fucking, like a pop up. Like a pop-up store. They just, oh, nobody's telling our side of politics. We think politics is all one-sided and nobody's telling the conservative side of things. Okay, well then we'll just make up our own news channel and call it news, and then we become the thing that we are accusing other people of being done, because if we can't win, we'll just, Listen, this is where it goes. This is where it goes when you start down this road. You're trying to talk about Y the Last Man, and you're trying to explain things about like what's going on in the show, and it ends up down this rabbit hole. When really I just was trying to say that this show is definitely going towards where Jennifer is going to lose power to these people that we don't want in power. It's going to make everything worse. And then it's going to be, how do they take that power back? because that's drama and it's going to make people angry and everybody's going to be pissed off because they're going to have to watch a season or two or who knows how long of Regina Oliver and Kimberly in charge, and I'd rather put a gun in my mouth, metaphorically, than watch that because like I'm about done with The Handmaid's Tale. I need that to be done, not because it's not good, it's because it's just so rough on the my mental psyche over the last 4 or 5 years. Everything is just so fucking down. And it's not like it's not good, but it's also not good for this all the time. So yeah, get ready for that. If the only thing way unless they pull a surprise and they something happens to Regina and Kim, like if they had the balls to do something like that, which I don't think they will, then that's where we're headed, everybody. Get ready for it. And I don't even know if I'm ready for it. And I don't even know if I would watch the show if that's what happens because, I can see terribleness every time I walk out my door and I deal with the public. I live in a very backwards ass place. And so it's become more and more difficult for me to watch shows that go down these paths where I see the same people I see out in the world. And as much as I'd like to disagree with it, there is a bit of a thing, where it's like escapism is gone. It's not. It's not. It's not gone. For some reason, I'm still drawn to the controversy or the more difficult stuff, the more dramatic stuff that's more real. And but I've been wondering, like, should I be reviewing it if it's making me this upset? You know? But I like to challenge myself. I think a lot of us like to challenge ourselves in what we watch. And man, do I got to get back to this. I feel like I have gone off the rails, and I apologize. If you're enjoying what I'm saying, great. Maybe it's because it's 6:54 in the morning and my filter is all kinds of out of whack. But let's jump back into the show. So we got that's the Washington stuff, right? And it'll bleed back in later. But we've also got two other stories. Now Yorick's and Washington's bleeds into together, so we'll talk about Yorick's part right now, which is they're still on the run. I do like this bit. It's weird, but you've got the whole people gathering together every once in a while to sing Radiohead songs. Which, hey, look, Radiohead is one of those bands where you're either into it or you're not. I don't know somebody who is a casual Radiohead fan. I'm a major Radiohead fan, all right? You either get it or you don't. Listen to In Rainbows. That fucking album is flawless. OK Computer is really good too. The Bends is really good. You know, and I just think it's somebody on this show is a real big Radiohead fan and probably a Weird Al fan. And I thought this was interesting that people just like music still and they want to remember it, and this is their way of remembering it and honoring it, and doesn't matter that it was a bunch of guys who sang it, and I liked that. It was a nice little moment in an episode otherwise filled with just sadness. Now we've got bikers chasing them, and we find out that these bikers were sent by Washington. These were the people trying to track down the helicopters, and they've got Yorick and 355 and Dr. Mann trapped in a church. This is where the sleepwalking from 355 gets more intense. She's incapable of admitting any kind of weakness. She is on her mission. She's feeling very unappreciated, but she's not dealing with her own stuff. And how can anybody trust you if you're going to wake up and possibly, accidentally die from sleepwalking? That and being confronted with the lies. And she continues to lie. And she says that it's for your own good. And sometimes I can understand that. And sometimes I can't. These are adults. They all should be able to make their own choices. If Yorick wants to just walk away, he should be able to walk away. It'd be stupid, but he should be able to. And she's confronted with these lies, and it creates the more dramatic situation because Mann now doesn't trust her and convinces Yorick after just more and more of 355's I'm not, nothing's wrong, you should be grateful, blah, 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 they bail. They leave her there, even though they're planning on setting a trap for the people after them. Also, when she says, I don't kill people, and it's like, whoa, daddy, we all know you kill people. But is she trying to convince herself that she doesn't, or does she just need to think that for sure to keep them in line? The lies to control the situation. But I still find 355 fascinating. She's probably the best character on the show. Um, so we get the confirmation that Washington sent them. Jennifer doesn't know that it came down to this close, right? And she's more concerned about keeping the secret, that to keep Yorick safe. That if they actually find 355, they'll find him. But since they left her, we don't know what was going to happen. I actually am really kind of irritated that we didn't get to see this church, where they got everything set up to go. No, instead it's in the woods, and 355 takes them all down one at a time, and then Yorick lies. So this is where Jennifer's going to be caught in her lie, because Yorick is seen again. He lies and says he wasn't seen to save their lives. They're going to wake up and they're going to tell them who they saw. And then it's going to come out that Yorick is alive, and it's going to be the catalyst to have Jennifer lose her power, her seat, her and whether or not, maybe you don't like Jennifer, maybe you think she should lose her power to these hillbillies. I don't know. But that's the Yorick side of things. I do think that this was a good section, but the big, more impressive section here to me is the hero story, Hero and Nora, who is still, I'm still as confused as you all at this point why there is a character, why Nora is in this, why this character is necessary. She's not in the book. I really don't see the point of this character. There seemed to be, they were trying to get there, like she's from Washington. She could help Jennifer, but she was turned away, and now she's just wandering around with Hero. I don't, it's not the actor's fault. And maybe someday there'll be some reason for this character to be around, but I agree with anybody that's been talking about this. I don't know what her purpose is yet. To be the voice of reason, I guess, maybe in unreasonable situations, because she's not agreeing with what this group is doing. And if this is correct, this is the beginning of like the Amazons, the group in the book. And I thought, oh, there's no way that they're going to do this. There's no way that they're going to do the group that cuts off one of their breasts and like to show some like this symbolic Amazonian tribute. Now they haven't cut anybody's breasts off yet, but Missy Pyle, wow, as Roxanne is unrecognizable and incredible in this part, as she leads this group of very, 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 just the damage that has been done by the men in these women's lives is horrible. But the men are all dead now, and they've decided that we are going to become who we want to become. But I feel like really what Roxanne is doing is shaping them into what she wants them to become, and making her own little army of like-minded people, which turns it into basically a cult. It's not a following God necessarily cult. And it's not like something like this wouldn't be useful. This is a support group that's really taking a stand on something. Um, I thought it was really, I don't know how they did it. If maybe Missy Pyle, like I don't know Missy Pyle. I don't know her history. I don't know if she actually had breast cancer. But however they did if this was real or not, wow. That looked real as hell. If it's real, that's even more tragic and brave of her. I don't say brave very often, but when you have that kind of thing happen, being able to show it the kind of like, I don't know, just the this is what happened to me and I'm fine. Like I this is, I don't know. But they put it out there, and it was obviously she didn't cut it off. It was a cancer thing, but that right there was me seeing they could go there. They could go there. Now they do have like a ritual going on where it's like this weird symbolic burial of someone who's in the group and then baptized, which has the religious connotations of like death and rebirth, and who you were now then is not who you are now and who you're becoming. Now the next step, because all those girls were all had both of their breasts, so they haven't gotten to that pitch yet. But I'm not say it's not to say that that's not where it's headed. I did think that that scene though, where they're all washing themselves, was interesting because I feel like it must have been that Olivia Thirlby probably has a no nude how do you say that, no nudity in her contracts for her acting, and that this scene like tries to explain that without explaining it. Like they, her covering herself up, they talk about it more as in you how you feel like ashamed and stuff, and like they are empowered and she doesn't, and it's a way for her to get away, like not get away with, but so that she doesn't have to be naked with the rest of the actors, which is a little. All those other ladies, man, they put it all out there, and I'm not saying that she has to. I'm just saying, like, it just, I don't know. It's very obvious that who the big star in the room is, and but I did enjoy how they wrote around it to make it like, oh no, no, you're just not used to all this, and then I don't know. You can disagree with me on that too. This is going to be a controversial review. Holy shit. Um, But you get the one girl that's talking to Sam, and I kind of felt like this might be a trap, but it's not. She just doesn't agree with everything. She pays the price for that. She gets her ass beat. And I think, though, I really do think, because they got Hero and Roxanne talking and about the guilt of killing someone. And Roxanne's using that for her own purposes, and Hero is just feeling guilty about killing anyone. She's going to try to turn that into like some kind of other thing. That's Hero in her state is very susceptible right now. Plus she's still taking drugs for fun, you know. And I worry for Sam. I think Sam needs to get the hell out of there as fast as he can and try to get to Washington. But I don't know. So I'm going to stop here because I feel like I really ran this right into the fucking side of a mountain. So if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, and the bell for all notifications. Maybe I should do these after I've worked an 8-hour shift at work and then try to make this review. I don't know. Which will be better? Pre-work, post-work? I don't know. But either way, we'll see you next week for episode 7. Have a great day, and I'll see you then.